sometimes people say like, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, like where they're like, one day she'll recognize how lucky she was to have you. And I'm like, one day she might not. And I have to know, like, I'm still a wholly loved person, whether she does or not.
Yeah.
So I think my mom's point was, you did all this work and it's like helping you now to navigate this situation.
Yeah, you've got a firm foundation with her. It may not be the best foundation or a perfect foundation, but you've got a firm foundation with her. She knows where you stand, you know where she stands, and there's no question of, is Whitney doing this to be mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids podcast, where we discuss all things step family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
Today we have stepmom Whitney. Hey, Whitney, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing great.
David's here with us today, which is a rarity.
I know. I don't know if that's good for you, Whitney, or not good for you, but we'll find out.
I was excited.
Well, Whitney was on our podcast about 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
She is a stepmom with no bio kids, and her stepdaughter is 17.
Yep. And we've been married in July. It'll be 10 years.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, we're excited. We do have 4 dogs. So, I mean, that's got to count for something.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you the primary caregiver of the dogs?
I'd say yes.
Just curious, just doing some research here.
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
So when you and I talked before, you were having, I'm going to say with air quotes, the normal stepmom challenges.
Mm-hmm.
The little things drove you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What was your relationship with bio mom back then?
I would say, so I kind of have to think of a timeline. So that was in 2021. I would say like we always had a good relationship. I always say like her and my husband didn't always, they had more tension and they definitely didn't see eye to eye. But even in the heart of things, when I think I was overly involved, I felt like she was always pretty respectful of my role and that she, really, I mean, if she did talk really bad about me, there wasn't much evidence of it. And I think she's pretty supportive. And we got along good. At that point, we did have to have some boundaries and that was kind of more had to be on my husband. But just things like we lived like only 2 minutes from each other, which is nice for my stepdaughter. But she would ask my husband to like do a bunch of handiwork for her, which my husband is like super handy, which is great. But it kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, like, she had her chance to depend on you for this kind of stuff. She needs to pay someone to do this. And I mean, it really took me and my husband's marriage counselor to say that before he really, was like, oh, but, when I said it, it was kind of like, because he was just doing it. I think he felt like he was doing it for my stepdaughter. And I understand that. But I also think sometimes bio mom knew he wouldn't say no.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't want her trying to barter services either.
No, we do not. And also during that time, and I don't want to like talk too ill of her, but like during that time, there were some issues with alcohol that she was having that were just big struggles like that my husband had to confront, like seeing her driving my stepdaughter with an open container, or like she got a DUI that fall and stuff like, so that was an issue. But that was a really long way of answering. Like we had tension, but it wasn't really between us personally. Like her and I always got along pretty good.
Right. And then something happened.
Yeah. So my husband and I were actually, my husband and I are both teachers. He's an art teacher, but he makes like outdoor sculpture on the side. And we were on a trip in June to deliver some of his art. And I remember my stepdaughter told me like, oh, my mom went to the ER for her back. And I remember thinking, I don't remember her having bad back problems. But she called us when we were on that trip, and which, throughout this whole ordeal, she had a lot of moments like this that it meant a lot to me that she was like, hey, I want you and Whitney, to my husband, I want you and Whitney to both be on speakerphone. And she said that when she was at the ER, they had found a mass. Um, and, uh, you could tell she was really upset. And like selfishly in the moment, I was like, well, this really puts a damper on our trip, which is horrible. But I was just like, dang. But it was about a week and a half later that when they did a biopsy that they told her she had pancreatic cancer. And she was only 44 when she got diagnosed. And that was June 26th in 2024. So.
Mm.
And she just passed away this past December.
He did. It was almost to the day 6 months of her. Yeah, like from the time she was diagnosed to when she died. And when they diagnosed her, that the best prognosis they could give was she was at like stage 2.5, where it was like in her pancreas and in some lymph nodes. But it was probably like the end of October that they told her she was in stage 4 and that she had done we really didn't even know if she would do chemo, but she did do some like kind of a lesser version, like where it was less harsh.
Aggressive. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. That's the word. And, but it had gone into her stomach lining and stuff. And so they told her like, you're in stage 4. And if you don't want to do more treatment, you really need to think about hospice. And, it is just one of those things where, to some people, like, I know people mean well, but like sometimes when I listen to the podcast on here, I feel like sometimes people are pretty down on when people have a close relationship with the other bio parent. And this was just kind of one of those situations. It was really unique, but it's like, I don't regret for one moment, like that we were really involved with her cancer journey, because she never remarried. In 10 years, she had one kind of solid 2.5 year relationship, but it had been years since that one. And she didn't have any family around here. One sibling 2 hours away and one in New Hampshire, and we're in Missouri. So it was just one of those things. Like, I think my husband and I, thankfully, we're both on the same page, and we just felt like this is what we need to do. Like, this is, my stepdaughter's mom, and she, and she wasn't always the easiest patient to deal with, and she's real sassy sometimes, but she always was appreciative. Like, we had this moment. This was really before she had cancer. Like, if she didn't feel good, she really didn't like to be alone, and I knew that about her. And one time in like July, she just called me and said, what are you doing right now? And I was like, I just got home. Like, I'm not doing anything because I'm a teacher. So not a bum, just don't work in the summer. And she said, like, can you come over? And I was like, okay. And I went over there, and she just felt horrible. And she just kind of wanted someone to be with her. And I mean, I just sat with her for a while. She did some work calls from home. And I remember my stepdaughter came upstairs and saw us both like sleeping on separate couches, and probably was like, what a weird life I live. But then like later that day, I mean, I spent hours there, but she just started crying and said like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this alone. And I was like, you're not alone. And she's like, but you shouldn't have to be here with me. Like, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like,
yeah, you didn't sign up for that, Whitney.
And my husband would say that. He's like, aren't you so glad you ended up with me? And I was like, no, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I hope someone would have done the same for me if it was the other way around. And, but, and there really weren't that many days where like I was just staying with her in the beginning like that. But I mean, I took her to chemo a couple times. And one of the days she kept telling everyone like, I ate this yesterday and I did this. And she's like, I know I keep talking about that I had a good day yesterday, but I don't have a lot right now. And it just broke my heart. And, she really was like, obviously I didn't always agree with her. And like, we definitely, our personalities were so different, but I really did. I know she loved my stepdaughter, and I know, I just feel like she just really drew the short end of the stick. Like, to die at only 45, like it just, I don't know, it just breaks my heart. But when they put her on hospice, my husband and I went with her to that appointment, and they were like, well, you're going to need 24/7 care. And we were kind of all like, what? Like, because at that time, like, she could do a lot of stuff. And she was like, what am I going to do? And we were like, oh my God. And I told my husband, I was like, we're going to make it work. And he's like, well, I think we were talking about her. Maybe she'd need to be in a facility or something. But for about 2 weeks, we really tried to keep her at home as long as she could. And she had a lot of friends. So we have a casino in our town. It's a very conservative town, so you can imagine what a hit it was when it opened. But she worked there actually from the day it opened in 2012, and was just like a really big staple there, loyal employee, and had a lot of work friends that really stepped up. Like one of her friends started a spreadsheet where people like signed up to be with her, and so many people did because my husband and I were still teaching, but there's about a week and a half where my husband and I like alternated nights staying the night with her. And it was hard just because like got really terrible sleep. And I worried about her a lot just because like if she moved, I'd be like, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it finally got to the point like she did, like she just got weaker and weaker. And she couldn't go to the bathroom by herself. Like, we had to like hold her up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the point where like she kind of knew like I can't keep staying here, because she felt okay with me and my husband and like her best friend doing that with her, but she didn't want like randos from work like
Yeah.
helping her go to the bathroom and stuff. So the beginning of December, she got moved to, which is this crazy, but in our area, we don't have any facilities that are just like hospice. So she got moved into like a nursing home. But she got to have a private room where people visited her all the time, for someone who really didn't have a lot of family and stuff, her friends were amazing. And I would try to bring her dog to come see her and stuff, which the nursing home was awesome about that. And, because I actually would take care of her. Her and my stepdaughter got their dog about a year ago, like January. And my stepdaughter, she's actually without shoes on. She's like 6'3".
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she's a huge volleyball player, does travel ball. And when they would go on their weekend trips, I would take care of the dog because I was taking care of my dogs anyway, because we're teachers. We cannot board all these dogs every weekend. So I just was pretty close to her dog anyway. And so I'd bring her to the nursing home, and even some nights, like I stayed the night there, which my husband and I actually almost kind of got into it a little bit where he'd be like, sorry if I'm not good at telling this, you'll probably have to edit stuff. Ugh, sorry. But,
You're fine.
But she, like that last week, the last time I really went to see her that she was conscious, she was just all over the place, like just uncomfortable, moving around, really wobbly. And it was so nerve wracking. But thankfully, her sister, that's a nurse, was there, and I felt better. But like, they just had to like sedate her to calm her down. And she never woke up. Like it was like, that was a Sunday. But she stayed with us till that Friday without any food or water for like a week. I know. But, so I stayed the night with her a couple of those nights. And my husband, I kind of got into it where he was like, she doesn't even know you're there. And, like, why are you doing this? And I was like, listen, they say hearing's the last to go. She doesn't like to be alone. And if there's even a 1% chance it gives her some comfort, like I'm going to do it. And, and he understood, like he's just more practical, I guess, in that way. And,
well, and he doesn't like her very much, regardless of.
Well, there's that. There was a point in the very beginning when he drove her home from St. Louis, from like she stayed in a hospital in St. Louis multiple times, and he like came home and was like, bio mom and I had a really good talk, blah blah blah. And I kind of got a little like, because I would have people ask me like, doesn't this bother you? And like, it really didn't a lot, but just in that moment, I had like this twinge of like, wow, you're gonna spend a lot of time with your ex-wife during all this. And my husband said, he was like, if it makes you feel any better, I basically think of her as my sister who makes me mad now sometimes. And I was like, well, it kind of does make me feel better. And I told Bio Mom that he said that, and she laughed and she was like, that is so true. Like, he irritates me so much. Like, and, and I told her, towards the end, I said, like, hey, I know you didn't always agree with me. And she looked at me and she was like, it was more your husband. And I was like,
yeah.
But that last week, me, husband and my stepdaughter, we all took off that whole week because so I've never missed a finals week for school. But that Monday, my husband emailed me and said that the hospice nurse said he thought she had like 24 hours left. And I was like, oh, man. And I just kind of lost it. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, I know, like, in some ways, she was a thorn in our flesh when, years ago and stuff. But at the same time, like, she also was kind of more the one that, like, I don't know, kind of the pusher of things with stepdaughter, kind of more the organizer, just part of me. And especially because I would say for the last 5 years, I've stepped back a lot. And, which my mom says, she's like, I feel like God knew you needed to work on that for this very time. But I'll get to that. But I was just like, what are we going to do without her? Like, what's my stepdaughter going to do without her mom? Like, and just this fear that she's going to resent me because I'm here and her mom's not. And and I actually told Bio Mom that I had that fear. And she said, she was like, I don't think she's going to feel that way. I think she's really going to need you. And just very encouraging stuff. But it's still a fear. And so then, me, stepdaughter, husband all took off work that week. And we just were with her a lot. And, even though she wasn't responsive, like, I don't regret that at all. And it's crazy because we were with her so much, but it was one of those situations where she was all alone when she passed. And
really?
Yes, it was like
she waited for y'all to leave.
I did. That's why we would joke like, what is she waiting on? Probably for us to all leave her alone. And
yeah.
But that Friday, I had spent the night. I was there in the morning. I left, and then husband and stepdaughter came, and but they left maybe around like noon, and I think it was like 1 or 2 when she passed. But my husband told me later, he's like, wow, I'm really glad I talked to Bio Mom this morning. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I made my peace with her this morning. And I was like, what? Why did you wait that long? And he was like, I don't know. And but I guess like I think he probably told her like that he planned on taking care of stepdaughter stuff. And I was like, she was probably like, I have been waiting.
Yeah, I've been waiting for 5 days. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. Took you long enough.
Darn ex-husband.
So I've got I feel like I have a million questions.
I know.
Go for
but first of all, you win, in my opinion, the stepmom of the millennial award, because that is just awesome.
Well, I think too, this plays into kind of my question, which is we often tell people when they're struggling with different things in the step family to put things in the proper perspective. And sometimes that means you have to measure what you're up against with kind of a drastic situation.
Like this.
Yeah. And not that we want drastic situations to happen, but it's, even in my professional life, oftentimes I'll say, it's okay, nobody's going to die. But sometimes they do. And when you measure what you're dealing with up against something extreme, oftentimes it kind of shakes you and causes you to go, okay, it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. So for you, though, you actually had to go through that we use more of as a
extreme example.
Yeah, we use it kind of like a simulation, but you actually had to live it. So how did that change your perspective of all the other stuff that you went through?
Mm, you mean like my step parenting experiences before this? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I really think, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, this was definitely my first experience, even just watching someone wilt away, really, like, to just suffer from cancer. And I think it just makes everything seem so much more minute. Like, it just like, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's
Hmm.
not that big of a deal because there's a whole other component that, my stepdaughter lives with us full time now for the first time in my whole life, with them as my family. And we don't have four dogs by choice. Like one of them
Mhm.
is
Yeah. You got a stepdog.
Yeah.
stepdog. Yep. And, which, so that's all like a lot of changes, but it's like I needed that perspective because like, yeah, stepdaughter leaves stuff on the counter a lot, but but it's, and I've been kind of practicing, I feel like this mentality for a long time, but it's like either husband can tell her to put away or he can put away, or I'll just put away because it's just is not that deep. And, I just, I feel like like kind of like my mom said, the years of practice I had of trying to protect my peace and nacho situations, it's like I needed that for this time. Because I mean, if this had happened when she was little, I don't know if I could stay with my husband. Like, I don't know if we could have made it. But I feel like we're in such a better place than we were even, 5 years ago. So it just makes everything seem like it doesn't matter as much, I guess. I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like the mess in the house doesn't matter as much. The leftover food, the drinking out of the milk container. Yes, that stuff's annoying as crap. And you can drive yourself crazy over it. Or you can realize that there is value in every moment that you're breathing and you can do something with that moment that doesn't bring you stress.
Hmm. Yeah. And, and one of the things, like, since she moved in, which the other component there is that really for almost 5 months that her mom was sick, she lived with her mom. So, and prior to that, it was like 50-50 for years. And the really, and the crappy 50-50 that's like every 2 or 3 days, which wasn't terrible because we live so close. And sometimes I think because I immerse myself in like this podcast and like chat, like I've done that more than my husband. Sometimes I'm like, why don't we do this week on, week off? Like, that'd be so much easier for everyone. But Nacho, not going to bring it up. So I never
Mhm.
have. And everyone seemed pretty happy with the situation. So then for 5 months, my stepdaughter lived with her mom. I don't blame her one bit. That was hard for my husband at first because he missed her.
Mhm.
But also, she got pretty used to like with her mom being sick and on the couch almost all the time. She just came and went as she pleased. And kind of like I feel like she kind of lived like she was almost like grown in some ways. And so that's been an adjustment where my husband's like, you gotta communicate like where you are.
Yeah.
And she also is like on a big kick where she wants to eat healthy and like wants to meal prep. And I mean, I'm really lucky that my husband's the cook anyway, but like I'm just like, oh, you can deal with all of that, and he does, and and I feel bad. Sometimes it's hard not to feel bad. Like a lot of it's on him, but there is a like deep in me, part of me is like, well, you married Bob. You chose to have a kid. Like I know I chose to marry him and have a kid in my life, but I just that's how
but
I
but not for you to raise that kid.
correct,
Right.
correct.
Yeah. So what's your relationship like with stepdaughter? Did that change once bio mom was diagnosed and stepdaughter saw you helping her mom?
Huh? That's a good question. I feel like we have gotten closer in a really good way, but I also feel like it's you kind of have to know her to understand the context. Like she's an internalizer. I married into a bunch of internalizers, and I'm not. And which my own mom told me because she was too, and she told me like it's good that you're different than we all are. Like it's good for someone to express themselves more, and so I know it meant something to my stepdaughter, I think, to see me help her mom a lot, but she's not someone that's going to like vocalize that a lot. But I definitely feel like we kind of just built up like our little connections here and there. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the energy drinks Alani News. Um,
A
they're like
lottie do.
Alani New.
Okay.
They're all the rage with the teenage girls, and they have like fun, fruity flavors. And part of me like knows about them because I teach high school, but my stepdaughter's in high school, and when she would be at her mom's, I would like it was like my love language. I would just drop her off a case of them and be like, "Here you go." And there's one day where I told her, I was like, "Stepdaughter, I hope you know this is my love language. You like I don't know what to do right now besides, you know,
Drop off drinks to you. Yeah.
Yes, and she said she was like, I mean, I'm here for it. That's fine. Like, and we definitely like, because like when she was littler, I feel like I did like force the hugs and stuff more, and we've gone away from that the last like 5 years. But I just feel like they happen more naturally through all this. And the day we came home from like when her mom was unresponsive and stuff, like I just told her like, I'm sorry, and like hugged her and stuff. It's just. And then this is kind of neat. The night I spent the night with her, the night before her mom died, and she was totally unresponsive, but it was almost like we had a party at the nursing home because it was me, stepdaughter, one of her really good friends, and like two other friends that spent a lot of time with bio mom. And we were just kind of all laughing, telling stories about her, and we just had a great time. And then we kind of joked because bio mom was kind of the life of the party gal, sometimes too much of the party gal. But we said like she would have loved that was her last kind of last hurrah. And I know before I got there that night, one of the friends told me, they're like, hey, stepdaughter said like Whitney's cool. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna forget that.
Yeah.
Like it was a big deal because like she's just not a big like compliment gal and stuff. Like, so I was just like, never forget. Well, it was cool. So as a whole, I feel like it's been good. And as hard as it is to navigate sometimes, like, we're doing better than I feel like we were years ago. So
yeah,
I'm thankful for that.
Well, not only am I thankful and impressed that you helped take care of her, but it sounds like you kind of got your husband to take care of her too, because it doesn't sound like he was going to be that willing to be a part of this, So that's good too, because you and him and her friends were able to split that up to where it wasn't all on you or all on him.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was really worried about that. But another component is like, even though she had siblings far away, one of them was like her financial, what's the word, power of attorney. And the other one was the medical power of attorney. So like, we didn't have to deal with that as much. And now sometimes my husband does. There's one sibling he likes dealing with, and there's one he does not. And it's kind of like, well, sorry about you. Like, guess that's your issue to deal with. But and it makes sense because like it's his daughter, and there's no one better to represent her than him. And one thing that's kind of unusual about this situation is bio mom and I always have tattoos, and I'm wearing long sleeves, but I have my left arm's a sleeve tattoo, and she would always like show me her tattoos when she got them, vice versa. And years ago, she had gotten a pink breast cancer ribbon for one of her friends. So maybe like a month or two after she was diagnosed, I was like, I don't mean this weird, but would you care if I got a purple ribbon for you on my arm? I got room. And she got teary eyed, and she's like, well, that would mean a lot. And I was like, okay. And so I did. And, but then like really towards the end, I kind of had an idea of like, cause I do feel like sometimes like it's my way of grieving is I like tattoos. And, I since she was a little girl, she really, really loved Care Bears, and she's a child of the '80s. And if I saw Care Bears, I would always like get her something. And so I just had the idea like I should get her favorite Care Bear. And I kind of thought like I'll do that after she passed. But then like a week or two before, I was like, why? Why wait? Like she'll think
Right.
that's awesome. So I went and got it and I showed it to her. And at that point, like she could almost barely talk, but she was like, nice. I think she liked it, and I have no regrets about that. And I think my stepdaughter really liked that too. So
Yeah. Girl, you were all in.
I also spoke at her memorial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was, because to me it's like what's a better testament to someone that their ex-husband's wife would be willing to get up in front of people. And I thought, it is just like, I guess just being a teacher, I don't mind doing that stuff. So I did, and I'm glad I did. So, and it's one of those things I understand, like that's not going to be everyone's story, or I don't expect that on anyone. I had a really unique situation, and I'm grateful that I got to have the relationship I did with her, I think. So, yeah.
Wasn't it Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts, the Stepmom movie where one of them got cancer? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had people compare that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is it's just amazing. And I don't know that I could do that. And I consider myself a pretty compassionate person, very empathetic.
Too much so.
Too much empathy. But I just don't know. You are one heck of a woman.
I really appreciate that. I mean, it's she cheated on my husband, and that's why they got divorced. And I kind of just a long time ago decided, like good people make bad decisions, and and I got a family out of it. So, I just kind of tried not to judge her about that. But I give her a lot of credit that I feel like she did always. It wouldn't have been as easy if she hadn't always like really respected me, I think.
Right.
Important person in my stepdaughter's life. Like, if because you hear stuff on here and in the Nacho Kids Facebook group, like just horror stories about that stuff. And I've been like incredibly lucky. Like, I feel like probably the worst I ever experienced was some passy aggressive comments sometimes. But, if that's the worst of it, that's pretty good. So.
Yeah. I think it would have been a lot harder for you to help her if she had stalked you at work, tried to get you fired from your job, tried to get your husband to sleep with her while he's married to you.
Photoshop you out of the picture and put her in.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I definitely understand if you've been through all that, that would not be easy to play the role that I did. And
I don't think it was easy at all for you even. I mean, even though it might have, we're going to say came naturally to you, because I feel like that's how it was, is that taking care of her came naturally to you. But that was still a lot on you.
Yeah, it was probably, especially that like month of hospice. Like, I feel like my husband and I were kind of like, this is probably the hardest thing we've been through together. Like, it's just, there was just a lot to navigate, I think. And, but, I think it helped me and my husband get closer too. And I'm thankful for that. And,
well, he better hang on to you.
Now he's got something to compare to.
Yeah. Nobody will meet that expectation.
No. He's gonna be like, honey, I don't feel good. You get me some soup.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, no, I used all my energy taking care of your ex-wife. See, that's the crap me and you would say.
Yeah.
Whitney's not bad like that.
I tell you, me and Lori say things to each other that if you don't know who we are,
it could be taken the wrong way.
You think that we really, really have a bad relationship sometimes because we just crack the jokes that, you just probably shouldn't say.
Yeah.
It's because you guys have the same vibe and you get each other. So that's okay.
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about before that, we'll go through the line at Walmart, which we haven't done in a long, long time, and we would start an argument with each other, fake argument, just to have fun and watch everybody else around us freaking out.
That's
Because
awesome.
these two people, they're having a domestic dispute in line, and the whole time we're laughing on the inside, but
Yeah. And really I'm introverted. I'm very introverted. And I know some people are like, how can you be introverted? Because sometimes I can be wide open. I'm an introverted extrovert, I think is what it is. But anyway, so when David starts that stuff at Walmart, I'm like, oh no, he's drawing attention. And then he starts saying crap and he gets me going. It's like he winds me up and I'm like, well, it ain't your money anyway. He's like, what you mean it ain't my money? I left it on a nightstand for you this morning. I'm like, yeah.
I'd be the person that would like go home and be like, you should have seen this.
Yeah.
Like they were going at it.
Somebody would record it. Somebody's going to record us one time and put it on something.
I keep waiting on you to look at me one day and go, you wait, I'll tell your wife you was with me the other day.
I ain't never thought about that. Especially since neither one of us were wedding bands.
I know.
That's even better.
Is that because they're like just not comfortable for you, or you just don't like jewelry, or?
Yeah, I stopped wearing mine. Years ago, I had a job where it would, I could risk ripping my finger off if I had one on. And so I stopped wearing it then. Then I started wearing like these
rubber ones,
little silicone rings. And I think, those kind of tear up if you, do stuff. It just kind of became a habit of not wearing it. And so she never felt like I had to have it on. And it's not like it's some magical ring that keeps people from doing something they're not supposed to.
Yep.
It draws people to you more.
Yeah. So I just never looked at it like, well, I need to wear this so that, I don't do something stupid. You're going to do that either way if that's who you are. So I think we just got to the point where now if we go out somewhere, oftentimes we might put one on because we're going out. But other than that, we don't really wear them very often.
Like I wore mine to that soiree the other night, but I don't like worrying about it. It's stressful. Here we go. Look, I nacho my wedding ring because it stresses me out because I hit it constantly, and
like I don't
want to lose it because I don't wear it all the time.
I don't wear jewelry. I don't wear necklaces. I have a watch that I force myself to wear, but even then, it's I feel like anything on me is kind of uncomfortable, but
confining, restricting.
Yeah. So I don't know.
No, David, leave your clothes on. Leave your clothes on.
I say my husband's the same way about like with making outdoor sculpture with welding. Like he won't wear like his metal ring, but he wears a silicone one. I wear mine because it's pretty little. Like it doesn't get in the way a lot. But I grew up, my dad didn't wear one, and I don't think that ever really bothered my mom. So if my husband had been like that, I would have been like, okay, but. He does wear the silicone, but I was just curious why that was.
Yeah. Can't you see somebody in the Facebook group now?
Oh, sure.
What you mean he doesn't wear his ring? You know he's cheating on you, girl. You know he is. He talked. He convinced you he doesn't need to wear it so he don't get a tan line.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yep,
that's what it is.
Because people are really worried about finger tan lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think. And probably more than I would think, I've read that wearing a ring makes you more of a target for people, women coming after you than not.
I'm surprised you ain't wearing one then, David.
I don't need that kind of attention. But if it bothered her, I'd wear it just because it's not that big of a deal for me. I would wear it or not wear it. I just don't like having jewelry on. But if it bothered her, I'd wear it.
And girl, the older I get, the more I'm about comfort.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Tinted sunscreen, maybe mascara on a good day if we're going out. my Life is Good shirt and my yoga britches.
Mascara if you're feeling fancy.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, and if you ever think you're overdressed, just go to the local Walmart.
Nah, you're looking fancy probably.
Overdressed and going to Walmart?
Yeah, because they're still wearing their pajamas in Walmart.
Well,
so yoga pants would be dressed up.
Oh, yeah. Underdressed. If I felt underdressed. Is that what you meant?
Okay.
You make my brain feel like the brain on drugs, the egg frying in the pan.
Talk about an image from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, Whitney,
Yes.
you really are just amazing. And everybody should have a friend like you. Or heck, even an ex like you.
Yeah. Can you be my ex, Whitney?
Yeah.
I make a great ex. No,
I'm the best ex ever.
Yeah. You
I
should
really
do a training course, how to be the perfect
You know
ex.
what's funny that you said that, because I don't know why, but in the beginning, I was thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you've experienced something that not a lot of step parents go through. And you could really help a lot of stepmoms that are struggling with that, because you got the devil angel of help her, she needs help, or screw her, she tried to take us for whatever, money wise, or you've got that devil angel thing going on. And so you really could, or this is going to help a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to make a lot of people feel like crap.
Yes.
If you wouldn't take care of your partner's ex, if they had cancer, you're a piece of doo-doo.
Oh, wow.
Well, there is part of me like I almost didn't contact you because I really don't mean this to be like, look how amazing I am, but just kind of more like someone might end up dealing with something like this, or, that it could help someone. And so many times, I've listened to these podcasts and they've really helped me. And I noticed like you just re-interviewing people, and I was like, I mean, my life's changed,
Yep,
so,
it's changed a lot. Yeah.
So I really appreciate the encouragement. And I do feel like people have been so kind and so encouraging to me about the role I played, but I genuinely did not do it just, to seem like a good person, I think.
100%. If you'd have done it for a weekend, I'd have said, now, Whitney. I mean, you're just trying to get kudos here, but I mean, nobody would do that just for not anybody I know.
Mm-hmm.
Even no.
I couldn't do it. I could do it. I just don't want to be faced with that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We all could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is I don't want to say I couldn't do it. It's like people saying I can't nacho. It's like I can do it.
Yeah.
I would have to choose not to right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't have to make that choice.
And I know there's probably a lot of listeners that have different types of faith. But I do love me some Jesus. And I just feel like, that his love is what compelled me, I think. And, so
100%.
Yeah. So I'm so sad for my stepdaughter, and sad for us because we did, I really do feel like I got closer to her mom through all of this. And so like, there's just a part of me that's like, I just miss her in some ways. Like, she really did become my friend and stuff. And but I know, she's not in pain now because, actually, so like the last night before she passed, my mom and dad were in town because it was close to Christmas. And my mom, God bless her, she was like, do you want me to come stay at the nursing home with you? And I was like, Mom, like, there's like one twin bed. Like, don't, like, it's,
yeah.
And she's like, well, what if I brought you coffee in the morning? And I was like, well, that is so sweet. But I told her, I was like, if you have nice memories of Biomom, because we did have like some, especially when my parents still lived here and stepdaughter was little, we had like joint birthdays and stuff. I was like, and if you have nice memories of her, like, don't come because she doesn't look what she did. And I mean, she was, at the end, almost like just a corpse breathing. And and my mom did come, and she had the emotional reaction I thought she would, where she bawled, and but she made a good point because she said, when you would tell me about her being sick, I just pictured her healthy and lively, and seeing her like that made me think, okay, there's no coming back from this. Like this, she's gonna be better off, and I do think she is. And but yeah, that was like, I was like, I mean, I warned you, just saying, like, so, But my parents, I think living in North Carolina while we're in Missouri, like, they about lost their minds because they were like, just wanted to know like how they could help, and it was like, And it's so many times my parents offered to come and I wanted to be like, how can I tell my parents that will stress me out more?
Yeah, yeah.
But I would just say like, I appreciate it. And then it got to a point where I had kind of pushed my husband. This is, I guess, one area I did not show, but I was like, I just feel like, stepdaughter doesn't talk to many people. Like maybe she needs some kind of therapy. And actually I think my husband was pro that even, and Biomom was too, but I think sometimes the times I brought it up just weren't the right time in his mind. But like sometime in December, that's when he scheduled it. And he told my parents, he was like, what, if you guys really want to help, like you could pay for this therapy. And they were like, yes, yes, yes. Like, let's, they were all for it. And not that my parents are rich, but that's a way they can give.
Right.
And yeah. So like they've paid for me to go back to therapy and, husband and stepdaughter. So like, it's huge. And, it really, and especially since I never, you don't get much closer than dealing with an issue like a hard time like this. And I was overwhelmed with how generous and kind and like encouraging people were. Like, that I would get like messages all the time, like checking on us. And I really didn't know how it would be. Like, I feel like a lot of people did like treat me with respect. Like I thought it'd be like, wow, you're just a stepmom and stuff. But I didn't feel that. And that meant a lot, I think. So, you know.
It's an interesting contrast between that and when you are having blended family issues and you reach out to people or they hear about it. You don't get that same reaction. It's more like, you should leave him. You should,
you knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. How dare you put up with, it's mostly negative. Like very seldom do you get people giving you some type of positive feedback or anything that even looks like, it's a carefully thought out response. It's often very negative.
Yep. And I was incredibly lucky, I think, with how kind and encouraging a lot of people in our life have been during all of it. And it's been over a month since she passed away, and I still have people like check on me or just check on my stepdaughter and stuff, just be like, how's she doing? And which it's one of those things where I'm like, just the way she is, like, I was like, if you didn't know her mom died, you wouldn't have a clue. Like, she has a boyfriend, she's doing travel volleyball in school. And so she's
distracted.
Yeah. Well, making a guess here, but I think having some type of time to prepare for that, like it wasn't a sudden car accident kind of thing.
Yep.
I think it helps. It certainly doesn't mean she's perfectly fine, but I think it helps to have that ability to
be able to say goodbye.
Yeah, to say your piece and prepare for that. But the other side of it is it's horrible to have to watch that decline.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is crazy, but on her travel volleyball team, her best friend on the team, I kid you not, like in November, her dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he's currently in stage 4. And which we're just like, what are the odds of that? That's crazy. But like, we really are close to the mom and that family and stuff. And she told us that my stepdaughter told her daughter, I really miss my mom, but I hated seeing her like that. And I'm just glad she's not suffering anymore. So like, and I do feel like sometimes stepdaughter and her mom, like they had a good relationship, like they loved each other. I know that, but it could be kind of tumultuous too. Like, and I would compare it to like, sometimes they like argued like friends or sisters. And so I don't think that means like she doesn't miss her by any means, but like, it's just complicated in some ways, it wasn't just, but I'm like, I think she handles herself better than I would at 35 years old if I lost my mom. So like, I do have she's a strong kid, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
You said something a minute ago about your mom said like God working at specific times or certain times. What was that about?
I think it was maybe, so I'm really open with my mom about like my step parenting struggles over the years. And she's been like probably one of my biggest like nacho cheerleaders where she's like, yeah, like we love this for you.
Yeah.
And so she mentioned like, you have put in the work for like 5 years to really like step back and like, learn to not take things as personally and like kind of find who you are aside from, I just attached so much of my identity and like, what does stepdaughter think of me? Like, how much does she value me? And then I've worked for like 5 years to try to, figure out who I am when I
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. And one time my older brother said, well, your role might really change for stepdaughter after this. And I was like, not on my account. Like I say, I'm going to keep letting her dictate what our relationship looks like. And he said, he's like, that makes sense. He just meant she might seek me out more.
Right.
But it's kind of one of those things, maybe, but I also need to be okay that she might not. And that's okay.
Right.
Because sometimes people say, like, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, like where they're like, one day she'll recognize how lucky she was to have you. And I'm like, one day she might not.
Uh-huh.
I have to know, like, I'm still a wholly loved person, whether she does or not.
Yeah.
So I think my mom's point was, you did all this work and it's like helping you now
Yeah.
to navigate this situation.
Yeah, you've got a firm foundation with her. It may not be the best foundation or a perfect foundation, but you've got a firm foundation with her. She knows where you stand, you know where she stands, and there's no question of, is Whitney doing this to be mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I usually, probably the last few years, I would describe our relationship as like, we're very cordial. We have a good relationship, but I wouldn't say we're particularly close. And that was hard for me for a long time. Cause, I think I mentioned this on my other podcast, but like for years, it was like, I was a youth group leader and like little high school girls love Miss, I almost said
Yeah.
they love me as their teacher and like, and I, I've been a big sister and big brothers, big sisters and stuff like that. But it's like, but then this kid, like she didn't want anything to do with me. And that was so hard for me. But,
Yeah.
but then, I just had to eventually be like, it doesn't lessen my value if she doesn't think I'm the best thing ever, because it probably wouldn't matter, because this role is just lends itself to, you represent a lot of not great things for kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is what it is. I just happened to fall in love with a guy with a kid. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if he'd had that warning label, you wouldn't have paid attention.
No.
I'd be like, oh, let me put some makeup on that spot.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yeah. But I don't regret it. I don't regret being her stepmom. It's just tricky business sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Whitney, we appreciate you coming back on and sharing your story and giving us an update. We didn't even get into the 5-year journey that you took, so maybe we have to have another one with you so we can understand kind of how you went from the bad times to the good before you were challenged with this. But that was an amazing story, and it's fresh. I mean, you're talking about a month ago, so we wish you a lot of additional love and support, because you'll probably still need some moving forward, and keep up the good work.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me share. And yeah, any good thoughts or prayers are appreciated, because I think next year it'll be stepdaughter senior year. And I think that'll be hard, just not having your mom and stuff. So, I need all the good vibes we can get.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, and the adjustment of 4 dogs. That's tricky.
Yeah. So we need to have you back to talk about what you've done the last 3.5 years, or your 5-year journey.
Yeah.
And navigating 4 dogs.
Yeah.
Because you might have some tips to help me, because some days
your stepdog might be harder to deal with than your stepdaughter.
Yeah.
She's probably sweeter than any of my dogs, but she's way bigger, because I have a pug, beagle, and a Boston. Those were my dogs. And then she's like a boxer mix. So she's like 20 pounds or so bigger than them. But she's probably like, she doesn't have a mean bone in her body. She's just a lot, where they're like like, you're too much.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and their ages are 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Wow.
But listen, they're not Belgian Malinois. So, like, I props to you guys.
That's true. That's true. Matter of fact, before we hit record, I had to take them outside because they were running up the walls and trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, y'all got to go outside.
Well, it was who could be closest to daddy.
Yeah, they want to be, sitting on my lap, and they fight over who gets to get petted by me and all this. So
that's so sweet.
Yeah, I just wanted a dog that loved me, so I got 2 of them, hoping they would increase my chances, and they all love David. You know why? Because he plays with them. He does not discipline them. The trainer lady told me, she said, you have somebody working against you full time on this.
Man, you guys are similar to us that I know you both have kids, but you don't have ours kids. You have ours dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It's me and my husband that we got the ours dogs because our little Boston, she wants to destroy everything. And my husband's like, he kept saying, she needs to be in a kennel. And I'm like, he says that. We'll see. Well, she is in a kennel now because she destroyed our couch. And I think she has separation anxiety. He thinks she's just a shit, but whatever. She's my little demon baby, but it's fine. We love her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like navigating like a glimpse if we had kids, what that would have been like. But
well, we joke about when we got the rescue dog about how it changed our family dynamics, how the older dog was not happy and made sure that she verbalized it constantly by her actions too. And it was just interesting to watch because we were like, this is like humans, the way that they're interacting, the way they're annoyed with each other, just the whole, oh no, that's mine, give it back to me. I don't want it, but you can't have it. I mean, just all the stuff.
There was a lot of parallels between step families and these dogs. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, and I joked about writing a blog and at the bottom put love the dog. They brought this boy in.
I say when I married my husband, he had a black and white Boston and I loved that dog, but that was like, I didn't feel like I could fully love him because he was kind of like husband and stepdaughter's dog. And then we got my pug, and I'll probably need a straitjacket when he dies. Like, he's like the love of my life. But like stepdaughter was like 12, and I think it was similar to like, she had some jealousy, I think, where it was like, just, being an only child, I think just like not all the attention being on her.
100%.
Yep. But I think she's come a long way. And actually with like the dog that was at her mom's house, my husband's mom, she's just kind of an old practical German woman. She was like, why don't you just get rid of the dog? And we're like, no, like that's her dog. Like, we're not going to do that. And actually, like, people offered to take her and stuff, but it's like, it's a piece of her mom. Like,
yeah, she just lost her mom.
Yes, like we would never, like, we'll make it work. And thankfully, we have doggy doors. And even though our dogs are small, she's really thin, so she can fit through. So we didn't have to really change much. It's just an adjustment. But she is a good dog too. So we're lucky.
Yes, very lucky.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be in touch because you're going to come back and talk about more stuff.
I'd be fine with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And remember that life is good.
And it really is when you nacho.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.